Greetings, traveler. I am Sir Knox, the teller of tales. Would you like to hear one? This one is called, He Just Gotta Play Jailbait. Oh, geez, what could that mean? Also, my pronouns are they, them. I am a non-binary trans person married to a cis guy. Okay. Posted a brief overview of this in another sub, and it was suggested I post the full story here. Well, welcome. My local gaming group has been together for about a decade. That's a long run. 3 core players, myself, my husband, and our friend who I'll call Daniel. Daniel occasionally brings in an extra person, but usually they are either busy, flaky, or other circumstances, so even those who have been around for years are on and off. Now, I love Daniel. He's my best friend. But he can sometimes be a less than stellar judge of character, which leads us to Cat Sean. Okay? Cat Sean and Daniel met through circumstances that I don't know and honestly don't want to know. He brought in him to one of our games, and literally every single character he ever made was a horrible train wreck of sexual boundaries for the group. Oh, yikes. In the past, we have had characters who have complex sexual histories. I'm a survivor of assault and have made one character whose backstory includes implied abuse and heavily features the resulting PTSD. My husband has played female characters and on at least one occasion had some kind of sexual interaction, largely fade to black and not super central to the session. We aren't totally against sexual themes being a part of a character, having flirty characters, etc., as long as it's done respectfully. No dead hooker jokes and such, no assaulting characters or NPCs, no skeeving on minors. We respect sex workers. Assault is never used for shock value or fan service, and consent is expected to be common sense. Cat Sean, however, has played in previous groups where none of the above was true, and it shows. So without further ado, a basic timeline of his characters. Oh, great. Riffs, DM, Daniel, Biju, a 16-year-old girl who wields a katana, who goes to great length to describe how beautiful, young, pure, nubile, and sexually appealing she is. She's a virgin, but intensely curious about sex and has impulse control issues. Why? Just why? Every turn he goes on for 5 minutes on how sexy and cute she is, how utterly naive and dumb she is, etc. She was a rich girl put in a time capsule who just woke up. He put all her points in appearance. She doesn't really have a backstory to speak of. Why was she in a capsule? Why does she have a ridiculously long sword that she can't use, etc.? And honestly comes off as a creepy older man's sexual fantasy. Intense disappointment when he goes on about how sexy she is and none of the fully adult characters hit on her. This character felt pretty weird, but hey, he's new to the group and I didn't want to judge too soon. Oh no, you can judge plenty well at that point. It was obvious he was a bit socially awkward, and as I'm autistic myself, I tried to give people the benefit of the doubt. Autism is not an excuse for pedophilia. World of Darkness, DM, Daniel. His next character was a guy, and I felt like it would go a bit better. He was making a somewhat deadbeat 20s guy who runs a comic book shop. For some reason, he explicitly goes into detail about how his shop carries real sex dolls of 2 14-year-old girls from his favorite anime. Okay, time to get rid of this guy. Just get rid of him. I make clear comments out of character about the creepy pedophilia showcasing as he spends his turn meticulously cleaning the dolls inside and out, and how he has to watch male customers in the store to make sure they aren't messing with him. He seems very disappointed when no one tries to bang his child dolls. Get rid of this guy. That's it. That's just the end of it. He's gone. As an aside, another guy friend of Daniel's joined this campaign briefly to make a busty blonde woman with Amazonian proportions, a vampire who gets blood by sucking men's wieners because erections concentrate the blood. Luckily, he never played with us again. Oh my goodness. Exalted, DM, husband. Now, everyone besides me is finally starting to notice the creep vibe after his last character, but this one freaking cements it. What do you mean just starting to notice? You didn't tell the first character? Loelia is a solar exalted who was raised in a wealthy family, trained from birth with the expectation that she would be sold off to an older man. Apparently, she was taught to think about sex as a commodity and trained from birth on how to please a man. What do you mean trained from birth? But also taught that women who had sex were dirty whores, that love doesn't exist, and she was supposed to manipulate men, but also she was constantly dreaming of true love and looking for it. Apparently, she also has a furry fetish. Okay, just let this person go and report them. Her backstory is, one day, at a party, she followed one of her father's guests to a back room. He was a dragon-blooded and tried to assault her. She exulted and then fled alone, mostly naked, without taking anything with her, and then slept with men to get food and resources to support her gambling addiction. I tried to say some things during character creation, but largely my attempts were ignored and uncomfortable players turned everything into a joke. My character for the setting was also, coincidentally, a survivor of abuse. He was a Luna whose tail resulted in an ash-gray skin and unusual white and black mullet. He is a honey badger, born in a shadow land. His mother sold him into slavery, which resulted in abuse until one day he was visited by Luna and he exulted, resulting in him wiping out the 6 closest towns, starting with slavers, before just killing everyone in a blood rage. It's a honey badger Luke Skywalker that was assaulted. It's just, this is terribly depressing characters. He has severe PTSD, and his original personality basically completely overwhelmed by his past life as a coping mechanism because his current life memories were pretty awful, and he never had a chance to develop a sense of self. He was also fairly young. His past life wasn't exceptionally great either, and this resulted in a Luna with tons of charms geared at making him unkillable. Damage absorption plus rapid healing, with a horrid temper and again severe PTSD. Great, he's like Dr. Mundo. I did my best to make him believable, deal with the dark subject matter in a mature and insinuated way, instead of going into tons of detail, and instead concentrated on who he is now, which is a great asset to the party but emotionally fragile, must be handled with care, printed on his face. So, the first thing Cat Sean has his character do, well, first thing is for some reason, gamble sex in a drinking contest, trying to convince another player character to assault her, while shaming the bar staff who are acting normal, and then throwing a fit out of character when the DM put his foot down about it. I don't know why you're still playing with this person, that's actually kind of concerning. But, okay. The second thing was, aggressively tried to pressure my character, written like a realistic and respectful version of an abuse survivor, into banging her with solar mind control BS. Which luckily I made my rolls, and instead just about killed her, but Daniel wouldn't let me. Even though it would have been better for all of us if he had to roll a new one, or better yet if we didn't play with him anymore, which I started bringing up at this point. We ended up putting this whole game on hold just because of the BS that he consistently pulled, basically just trying to mind control, attack every single other player character at various points in time. And no one else would do anything about it out of character, so I had to resort to in-character acting like an angry god job and trying to murder her face every time I saw her. Not a great game all around, caused a lot of friction between myself and everyone else. Anima, DM, Daniel. You continued playing with this person. I don't understand it. Daniel basically makes this character for him, as I was still pretty pissed about the last game and he wanted to assure me it would be okay and he wouldn't be allowed to make a female character this time. Cat Sean originally wanted to make a preteen magical girl. We all knew that would go terribly, and thankfully Daniel stepped in here at least. Something is wrong with this group to let this person keep playing, honestly. I can't believe you've continued. But, yeah, that's concerning. It is very concerning. He ended up making a Vogue, which is basically a giant 8-foot wolfman. He didn't really have a backstory, just he is a giant wolfman who has a sword made of the bones of his dead mom. He comes from the north, a tribal society. How he ended up on the island of thieves we were on, nobody knows. Why he left his tribe, nobody knows. He joined the party somewhat ham-fistedly as my husband's character just saw him on the street and thought, he's big, guess I'll hire him as a bodyguard. And at first it was fine, but very quickly he decided during our downtime after the first mission he would visit a slave auction, because fade to black style. My husband's character, a young woman who was a spell sword, had a fade to black fling with a catgirl, and he was jealous. Why couldn't he bang a catgirl on screen? So he bought a frickin' catgirl. He designed a catgirl who walks around in white lacy lingerie and purchased her to use as a sex slave, and the DM Daniel allowed this to happen. Sounds like it's more than just him is the problem. My character, a half-dwarf summoner who lost half her skin due to accidentally summoning the torture god, obviously put a stop to this. Literally melting her chains, getting her some frickin' clothes, threatening the crap out of the wolf a-hole, and making a big stink about what the crap, why are we hanging out with a literal frickin' slaver? The catgirl, Felice, became a member of the party and was given a separate room from Cat Sean's character, and generally kept away from him. But of course, he tried to woo her at every opportunity. Took a whole session to think, oh, I'm so big, she's so small. If I banged her, I'd hurt her with my giant wiener. And harassing various members of the party to see if anyone knew a spell to shrink his weenie. Visited a sex shop to get super lube, and while running into my character in town, he insisted the sex shop was nearby and muscled his way into the scene. Popped a literal frickin' erection that knocks the hat off my short half-dwarf character. I ice spell his wiener after talking about how inappropriate this was, as nobody was backing me up. Okay, games that are just this sexual are a problem. This is not what D&D is. D&D is not a hentai fantasy. It's not a porno fantasy. It's not a place for going to sex shops and banging brothel workers and assaulting people. And that's just not what the game is. That's not what this game is. And I'm just so shocked at how you've let it go so far. I don't understand. It continues. There was another issue with a different of Daniel's male friends who came for one session, deciding he wanted his 30s male character to impregnate a teenage girl who helped us in a quest. And for some reason, I was the only one who did anything about it. This is a problem! You're the only one that apparently is doing anything is a problem. Also tried to assault a sentient cactus. I was so mad that no one was doing anything, I actually sat the whole party down, in character, but also kind of out of character, to have a very serious discussion about consent. If I had to sit through half a freaking hour of these a-hole sexual fantasies, I would for sure take my turn to admonish the group for disgusting behavior. Fun of the game be damned. It wasn't fun for me to sit through all these gross dudes' sexual fantasies. Heavy gear, DM, husband. Oh, another game, you continue to play, okay. At this point, I had been saying to everyone loudly that I didn't want to play with this guy anymore. Daniel, however, kept telling me that he had a difficult past and he was trying to educate him, that it would be better, and I just needed to be patient. Oh, my goodness, an enabler. I didn't have anyone else to play with. My health was starting to fail at this point, and I lost most of my other friends. Okay, TRPG was one of the only positive things in my life, and while I was frustrated Cat Sean was ruining the experience for me, I wasn't at a point where I had other stable support and could just dump the group. Okay. His character is a wealthy nobleman's daughter from a fairly regressive country. For some unexplained reason, she traveled half the world to join a totally different nation's military and join our crew. She was barely 18, with bright blue hair and tattoos, a blue scorpion on one cheek and racing stripes on the other. Cat Sean tried to pressure me to draw her. She was really into it, as you may have guessed, racing cars, but growing up under an evil dictator, she believed rich people's lives were worth more than everyone else's, and engaged in blood sports. Specifically, she raced a pure white car on a track lined with orphans, and whoever won was the person with the most orphan blood on their car. Yikes, that's gruesome. Yeah, that's not an exaggeration, that freaking happened. Oh, and during her first session, she tried to seduce her superior officer, another player character, and after being rejected, retreated to her closet to call the maid who raised her. And then tell the maid that she's old enough now to finally have the sexy older maid pass down the secrets of how to control men with sex. This person has a problem! Clearly! No one should be this obsessed with sex in every D&D campaign. The assaultiness is an issue. The young characters is like everything is an issue. They should have been banned a long time ago. I'm just a broken record at this point. Later, she went to the mess hall and insulted the commander of the ship for having visible prosthetics, which are stigmatized. Then went to the gym and picked a fight with the Marines, who aren't a part of our organizational structure and were support staff for the ship itself, and pulled out an unregistered gun to point it at them when she got tossed around in hand-to-hand training because she didn't know how to fight. She ended up getting court-martialed, as my husband for some reason wanted to deal with things in-game instead of out of character. Daniel was getting fed up with me making comments during the game and telling both of them we needed to talk with him out of character about expectations for behavior in the group. He's getting fed up. He's getting fed up. Oh my goodness. Daniel had been telling me for months that he talked to him about it, but Daniel has this problem where he tries to use big words in everything he says, and that results in people like Catshawn not understanding what he's trying to say, and instead just assuming he agrees with them. Finally, I lost it, and told them it needed to be dealt with now or I would quit the group. They elected to have me talk to him because neither of them felt comfortable doing it, so I did. What a bunch of weirdos. In the most polite and coddling manner possible, I explained how even though he didn't mean to, he was using a lot of stereotypes in his female characters and making all of his characters sexually charged with sexually inappropriate behavior. Obviously stated that everyone felt this way, but because I am the only one who isn't a guy, he decided that this was really just my problem. Yikes, that I was trying to control him and disallow him from playing someone different from himself, which is the point of role-playing, and bringing up how his other gaming groups didn't have any problem with his behavior. And there were trans people in those groups. I'm trans, therefore any criticisms of his behavior in our group don't count. He blamed the whole thing on me and started treating me like some evil harpy, and I was just done. Oh boy, a manipulative weirdo, also on top of all the other problems. What a keeper! So at this point, I put my foot down and just told Daniel and my husband that I would not play with Catshawn ever again, and I didn't care if that meant I wasn't in the game anymore. I ended up not playing with them for about 2 years, had a major riff in Daniel and my friendship, which is only recently recovering, after he finally gave me a sincere apology for this, and a few other awful things. My husband luckily realized how crappy all of this was after it happened, but he couldn't process it during. You're telling me your husband continued to play with this creep for 2 years? Or you didn't talk to your husband for 2 years because you... What? You didn't... What? Oh my goodness! Daniel still plays with Catshawn in another group and claims that they keep him on a tight leash, and he's gotten a lot better. No! 2 years! 2 years! Oh my... Sounds like Daniel is also a weirdo, and probably likes some of the things that Catshawn likes, which is an issue. I occasionally see him at social functions and get treated like a pariah, but mostly I just don't go if he'll be there, and that concludes the saga of the dark times when Catshawn's awful misogynistic behavior intersected with my role-playing group. What? I'm at a loss for words. Like, I don't know how anyone like that could stay in a group and people be okay with it. I just don't get it. I don't know how you lasted as long as you did, other than you just saying that you were desperate. And your husband, you're not playing for 2 years, even with your husband, that's everything in this story is concerning. It's just red flag after red flag. It's terribly sad and depressing, and it didn't end well either. I don't know. That's just that's it. That's the end of that tale. I just can't.